events leading to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Let's jump right in. In verses 1 through 10, Judas, who betrayed Jesus, is filled with remorse. He returns the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders and hangs himself. The priests used the money to buy the potter's field, fulfilling the prophecy. Then in verses 11 through 26, Jesus is brought before the Roman governor, Pilate. Despite being questioned, however, Jesus remains silent. Pilate then chooses to release a prisoner, and the crowd chooses Barabbas over Jesus. Pilate saw that the crowd was growing louder and that a riot was developing as they were shouting, "Crucify him," and so he decided to symbolically wash his hands, declaring himself innocent of Jesus' blood. Then in verses 27 through 31, the Roman soldiers mocked Jesus. They brought him into their headquarters and called out the entire battalion. They stripped him, put on a scarlet robe on him, and made a crown full of long, sharp thorns and put it on his head. They placed a stick in his right hand as a scepter, and they knelt before him, mocking, "Hail the King of Jews." Then they spat on him, grabbed the stick, and beat him on the head with it. Until they were finally done mocking him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be crucified. Then in verses 32 through 44, they come across a man named Simon who is forced to carry the cross of Jesus. They then go to Golgotha, or Calvary, which means Skull Hill, where Jesus is crucified between two criminals. The onlookers and religious leaders mock him, challenging him to save himself if he is the Son of God. Then in verses 45 through 56, darkness covers the land from noon until 3 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock, Jesus cries out in a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" In this verse, Jesus is not questioning God, but instead he's quoting the first line of Psalm 22, a deep expression of anguish he felt when he took on the sins of the world and thus was separated from his Father. This was what Jesus dreaded when he prayed to God in the garden to take the cup from him. The physical agony was horrible, but even worse was the period of spiritual separation from God. Jesus suffered this death so that we would never have to experience eternal separation from God. Jesus then yields up his spirit, and at that moment the curtain in the temple was torn in two from top to the bottom. The earth shook and rocks split apart and the tombs opened, and the bodies of many godly men and women who had died were raised from the dead after Jesus' resurrection. And finally, many acknowledged that truly Jesus is the Son of God. Then in verses 57 through 61, Joseph asks for Jesus' body and wraps it in clean linen cloth and places it in its own new tomb. With hardened hearts and disbelief, the chief priests and Pharisees ask permission to place guards at the tomb, fearing that Jesus' disciples might steal his body and claim that he is risen. Each part of Matthew chapter 27 is rich with fulfillment of prophecies and deep theological significance, portraying the narrative of suffering, sacrifice, and the foundation of Christian redemption. I'll be back again tomorrow with the final chapter of Matthew. I love you, and Jesus loves you so much that he died for you.